So, welcome. Thanks again for taking time off from your Saturdays to join us today. Um, so, it's quite fitting that we're launching this book today on the Global Day of Climate Action, in keeping with COP26 going on and so on. It's quite fitting that we chose this day to launch our book on climate change awareness as well, because, well, the purpose of the Global Day of Climate Action is to unite all climate activists and groups around the world surrounding a common goal, which is to demand governments and corporations to limit global temperatures to 1.5 degrees Celsius and to deliver real solutions to the climate crisis. So, I mean, we can't just all depend on like these big people to do the work. It's good to see that our small group here is putting in the work as well with launching this book. So I think it's quite fitting that that we're launching today. So let me just take some time to introduce today's speakers. We have Christine Samwaru from the Breadfruit Collective. She is an environmental officer at the Environmental Protection Agency and is also the founder of a nonprofit organization whose goal is to fight climate change with the involvement of women and protecting women's rights as well. So hi, Christine. We also have Chris Bissessar, and he is a third-year environmental student at the University of Guyana and is also a founder of Heart Through Art, which is an upcoming non-governmental organization celebrating art in Guyana. Chris his aim is to use art to change people's perception on various societal issues. So that's quite interesting, Chris. I really like that whole idea and concept. I could see some of your art pieces behind you there. They're very beautiful. So congrats on your new venture. We are also joined by Afifa Richardson, who is a long-standing member of the GYEN, and she enjoys reading, volunteering, and engaging with young people on the environment. She believes environmental education is key in ensuring that children not only inherit a thriving planet, but also become active caretakers. Afifa currently works as a communications consultant at the United Nations, supporting awareness on key environmental and developmental issues. So welcome, Afifa. It's really good to have such a diverse group of people here. And lastly, we have Bonita Bernard, who is joining us from all the way in the UK. Bonita is also a long-standing member of the GYEN, and she's very active, very involved. She's one of the writers of this book and is also a recent Chevening Scholar. So hi, Bonita. Good to have you here. So yes, let's just get into the discussion. So Christine, why is the Global Day of Climate Action important to you?
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining, and apologies for the loud background music while I'm speaking. My neighborhood is a bit loud right now, but I'm so grateful that we're all here today. And again, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be here. The Global Day for Climate Action, it's really, really important because right now we have COP happening, and we know that around the world, in addition to battling the pandemic, there is climate disasters that continues to happen. So although these really important decisions are being made, a lot of times those that are most affected by climate change disasters are not involved in the decision-making process. So this day is actually a global day for civil societies and people on the front line to come up and share their voices and share their thoughts and perspectives. And it's also for us as young people in this movement to stand in solidarity. So I think having this event is really important as a way to show up and show that yes, our country is also a carbon sink, but also we are extremely vulnerable to climate change disasters, especially living on the coast. So the day is very important as a way to show us why our work is so important and why we need to continue to have conversation around climate change. And we have to be really mindful of our leaders and hold them accountable to the decisions they're making around climate change.
Definitely. It's a pivotal moment in the fight against climate change as well. And it's a really good day for the launch of this book too. So really good. So what is the connection to COP and the current climate issues that we are facing here in Guyana and the Caribbean as well?
So I'll just continue briefly. I think COP is very important. It's an international event that happens, and that's where targets and decisions are being made that countries are expected to follow. For us in the Caribbean, as small island and developing states, we see climate change disasters happening, especially for small islands like Barbados, for example, and Grenada. They have, and the Bahamas, they have experienced widespread destruction as a result of climate change disasters. So it's not something that we're talking about that will happen in the future. It's something that that's happening right now, and therefore COP is really significant for us. Because we want to ensure that adaptation is being front and center in all the decision making.
Definitely, especially for the small island developing states, because we would contribute the least towards, greenhouse gas emissions and so on, but yet we're the ones being affected the most. So it is a very significant conference going on for us, and I'm hoping that some change could actually be induced from it. So moving on.
That is I think leading off from Christine is definitely the case, and much of what Ariana said. Like small island and developing states are on basically the forefront of climate change impacts, and we're the ones contributing the least, if at any cost, so much into the causes of climate change. So this, I believe, the COP, or Conference of the Parties, for those who may not know what COP is essentially the place, because it happens in many places, but this is technically the place for those who actually contributed to the creation of this issue to make the commitments that we need to see for the changes and for the better of our societies. Because while we may not be the ones causing the issues, we are the ones feeling the brunt of the situation. So particularly today, a lot of activists are out there, they're lobbying for better commitments, lowering emissions, and so much more from these states, from these powerhouses, so that we can have a chance to basically survive. So yeah, today is very monumental, and the days leading up and the decisions that are coming out of this particular conference.
Definitely. And it begins with advocacy and education and awareness, because those are all catalysts for change and action. So, I mean, this book, I'm so proud of you guys for this book, because it's not just you guys and this group just sitting back and saying, oh, the world leaders will handle it. You guys actually took matters into your own hand, took action, and decided to, actually bring your vision to fruition and so on. And it's a really, really good initiative, a really monumental step in the whole advocacy of climate change, climate awareness, and so on. So congrats to you guys. It's fantastic. So what would you say is the connection between education, climate change, and youths, and why should young people be involved in this process?
Yes, so I'll just jump in here, just to tie in as well to the previous question and on Christine and Benita's comments, because while it is very important for small island development states, and while Guyana is not an island, we do know, and we've learned from a very early age, that Guyana is below sea level. And I mean, we learned that in primary school, and then I went on to learn that we're in a bit of a bowl. So we have the ocean on one end, and then we have the agricultural conservancies on the other. And for us, 90% of our population is on the coast. And that's not just our populations, but also our key economic sectors, like everything that is important for us is on the coast. So like if we were to, given that if leaders don't commit to like increased action towards lowering global temperature rises, then we in Guyana will definitely feel the brunt of that. And just to connect it with youth and climate education, recently UNESCO released a report and they surveyed 100 countries. And of those 100 countries, half of them, only half of them included climate education in their national school curricula. And when it was included in their school curricula, it was given low priority. And I mean, currently we know in most countries and in Guyana as well, children grow up, we go through primary and secondary school, we learn about environment from a basic perspective. And it's not until we really reach university that we kind of understand that we are living in a crisis. We really understand climate change, the impacts, how we might be contributing to that. And that's only really for persons who choose like a field of study that's directly linked to climate change. Other persons might still not be exposed to how they're contributing to environmental degradation or how climate change impacts them. And really the idea, if persons aren't aware of something, they can't act on it. So if we as youth are not aware of climate change, how it affects us, how our actions contribute to it, then we will see no reason to take action. We won't know what we should do to save the planet. And that's not a good place to be in. If we don't educate youths of today, or if we don't educate the generations younger than us on climate change, they won't be equipped or have the knowledge needed to better fight climate change in the future. We're already here. We got code red for humanity from the recent IPCC report. If our leaders don't act today, then we're going to need to do so much more in the future to ensure that we have a healthy planet. And if we don't educate our youths or educate our younger generations, then how are they going to continue taking action? How are they going to protect the planet, protect the ecosystem services that they need, that we need to depend on to be alive, basically? So, I mean, really education is a solution. And if we don't like start with education with youths, then we won't be able to take action, the action needed to really have a planet, a home.
Exactly. And there's no planet B, no backup planets. Yes. I mean, not all of us can be like Elon and go and explore Mars. Has a potential, but so we have to work with what we have. So Christine, I know that the Breadfruit Collective, it focuses a lot on women's involvement in caring for the environment and so on. So why would you say it is important for gender consideration to be made when talking about climate change?
Yeah, and what Afifa said is really powerful, because similar to the youths, women are a marginalized groups. And what I like to say, and what is very clear, is climate justice is gender justice. Because if we don't address the climate issues, the issues that women face will continue to broaden. We can see from the ongoing pandemic, gender-based violence, intimate partner violence has skyrocketed. And so when women are a marginalized group because they face, I guess, layered impact of an issue. Women worldwide, we have less access to land. So therefore, in terms of employment, in terms of food securities, those are things that are being threatened by the climate. Additionally, when natural disasters happen, women are most likely to die from these disasters because, again, we're not taught the skills that we need to survive, such as climbing and so forth. So additionally, in terms of climate migration, there is a threat to women's health and also their reproductive and just sexual orientation, everything like that. It's being threatened because when natural disasters happen, we know there is all these social issues continue to be exacerbated. Additionally, though, if we do include women in climate change and environmental projects, what we know is these projects will be considered to be 100 times better, because again, we are including half of the population that continue to be left out of the conversation around climate change and around overall social justice.
Definitely. And it brings us back to SDG number 5 as well. So that's really, really great. So Chris is a local artist, and he also so graciously volunteered to illustrate the book, which was really well done, by the way. So Chris, what role do you think art plays in the climate movement?
Hi. So art in the climate movement, I mean, as you mentioned earlier, we're striving for activism. And, you know, as Afifa mentioned earlier, we have to target these generational periods, right? So art, I feel, is its role in the climate movement is it's a new medium, to express it simply. It's a new mode that is easily consumable, because, as we said, generational impacts. We're talking about educating youth. We're talking about educating young people. We're in Generation Z, is it? Is that what you call it? Generation Z or Generation Gen Z or Gen X? Yeah. I'm probably old for calling it Generation Z, but yeah, Gen X, Gen Z, you know, this is our upcoming future, as crazy as they might be. But these are our upcoming, you know, these are the people who are going to champion the climate movement. So we have to target this information in a way that is consumable, but also impactful to them. And art is one of those new mediums. It's something that you could look at it and it registers, or it's something that you could look at it and look at it and look at it and continue thinking about certain things like various social issues, racial inequity, gender bias, so many things. So art is one of those new things that it's triggering our brains slowly. It's more than just, you know, blending a background and calling it art. It's recreational, but it's also, it has that impact to spark conversation and spark change. So I feel like that's
definitely, and it's subjective. Everyone can interpret art in their own way and speak about. Like, I might look at a painting behind you there and see something surrounding climate change. Somebody else might see something else, and you know, it sparks conversation, sparks discussion, and it's a really, really good medium for communication. And I think what you're doing with Heart Through Art is very, very, very good. And I'm really, really happy to see like young people. I mean, I'm not old, but you know,
I'm apparently the baby of the group here,
expressing themselves through art and using it as a forum for communication and raising awareness about, you know, these sorts of issues like climate change especially. So kudos to you, Chris. So we're gonna now get into like actually discussing the book, The Sprouts and the Mystery of the Flood, which is what we're here for. So you guys all participated in writing this book. So can any one of you can feel free to jump in and tell us a bit about the book and what inspired you guys to write the book in the first place.
Okay, so initially, I believe, once my memory serves, I'm not that old, but it was one of the projects that we at GYEN wanted to execute following the Earth Day observance. And anyone that knows GYEN knows that we're very big on environmental education and awareness. Yes. Now, we know that this plays a fundamental role in growth and development of human beings, particularly targeting children at their most critical developmental stages, really gives us an opportunity to reap the benefits of potentially having a more eco-conscious society, having individuals that are more innately protective of their environment, the planet, and how they affect it and how their activities or their actions have an impact on them. And we see value in such initiatives like this book because it is even reiterated in some of the even major conventions like the United Nations Framework for Convention on Climate Change and the CBD, where they make particular emphasis, mention to the need for such initiatives. And I think leading off of that, we decided to have a project which specifically targeted the youth in order for them to have that understanding of climate issues, how it affects them on a personal level, as a collective, be it a community and as a country, and what their roles can be in aiding in these solutions. Because I actually came across a documentary. It was titled quite interestingly. It was titled Climate Change, We're the Problem and the Solution. And it's true, because a lot of the solutions that we need to move forward are locked up in our education and awareness initiatives. So this is basically how the book was birthed. Now, I must say, however, that it didn't initially start as a storybook. It was supposed to be, or we envisioned it to be in its starting phases as an e-booklet for students. However, when the project team met and we discussed, we all came to a general consensus that, hey, we wanted something that the children can go back to and revisit, not just work on it one time and put it down, but something that they can go back to from time to time again and also be passed on from generation to generation. And that's how it ended up evolving into a storybook on climate change. Now, the theme actually being climate change and health, we wanted to basically have it be surrounding or representing somewhat the upcoming environmental health day that was being observed. So we partnered with the Ministry of Health to have this project executed. And that was basically the initiation of this lovely story that you have before you, known as the Sprouts now. So,
really nice. That's great. I know it was months in the making, so you must be so thrilled to see it like come to life and actually, be here. So how did you guys come up with the storyline and the characters? I know that was like a major chunk of the whole writing process. So anyone can jump in.
Yes, so it was really a product of many, many virtual meetings, many virtual meetings and many brainstorm sessions. I remember when we started, it took us quite a few meetings, probably like a whole month, because we met about once a week, but kept in touch throughout the week. But it took us like a good while before we actually started writing, because we were just brainstorming and trying to get our storyline, our characters, just organized, trying to get our ideas flowing. So as Benita mentioned, we identified a topic first, which we wanted to do, which was climate change and health, to align it with the international day that was coming up at that time. Right. And then we identified the smaller issues that we wanted to target. At that time, Guyana, we were having those floods earlier in the year, and flooding is such a common issue in Guyana. It's something that everyone relates to. It's something that everyone's familiar with. And so we thought it would be
2005.
Yes, we had the one in 2005 and we had one earlier this year, and now it's pouring again. And I think I saw that Starbucks market was flooded this morning. So yeah, it's something relatable and something that sometimes we might take for granted or we just ignore. So we thought it's one of the most relatable ways of communicating the issue of climate change and health. So we decided to kind of center the story around the flooding event. But the storyline, how that evolved, we just kind of, it was many different thoughts, and we collectively wrote the story. I'm not sure how other persons or how other authors do books, but we collectively, like in meetings together, just wrote the storyline, shoot ideas to each other. Everyone, most of us have an environmental background, but we all have like a different perspective from our lived experiences. And we were honest, we critiqued each other's ideas. It's like, okay, this doesn't sound too right, or maybe we could do this to improve it. And it really added to the story, like just like critiquing each other's ideas and sharing what we thought could work really added to it. And then we had Chris on board, and he added a bit of adventure, and he helped us with the craft, the ending, and where we wanted it to go. And it just turned into so much, like thinking back where we started in the initial meetings and like how the storyline evolved every time we sat down together and wrote. Like even right now, I'm amazed that our final product is our final product. Like I was there all the time, but I still can't believe like this is our final product. Like we did this. And like coming back to the characters, that took us like 2 or 3 meetings as well, because we wanted to be sure that we got those right. And we wanted them to be representative of Canada's diversity. We wanted to ensure we take gender considerations, gender stereotypes into considerations, make sure we have gender balance and so on. And they were our babies, so we wanted to be sure we named them right, so the names spelled right, and we gave them little personalities and everything. So that took some back and forth, but we're pretty happy with them. We're pretty happy with the story right now.
It was back and forth, but I will say it was so much fun to do, because when we got our storyline figured out, or when we debated about the ending, but when we got that figured out, everything flowed so well at the same time.
Yeah.
And it was really fun for me because I joined in on a few meetings on the initial process of creating the storyline. It was so fun for me because everybody in the group, in the team, they were like picking their own character, and they were like, oh, Shamar would say this. Oh, everybody had their own little input, and we were all embodying the character, and it was so fun to be a part of.
Yeah, it sounds really dynamic.
It was a very collaborative.
Like giving every character their own like little personality and so on. It's really
Yeah, I agree with Chris, because I think the personality aspect for me was so fun, because particularly I think we all got a bit attached to the personalities of our characters. We were like, but Asha's shy. It was
like she wouldn't say this.
She wouldn't say that. And then just to see how the story developed, and to see the different lines that the characters had, how they responded to Auntie Sue, and we were like, you're just Cathy, aren't you? So it was definitely a really, really fun experience developing the entire storyline with them. I really loved us having Chris on board. He added such great dimension to the project. It was amazing. It was amazing.
So Chris, what would be the main message that you hope like people reading this book would take away?
Okay, main message of the book. Anyone could, jump in if I forget anything. But the main message of the book is that, one, it has kind of a sociocultural theme to it. One is that children, young people, youth, could definitely make a change or a dent in society. They're not too young. They definitely have the potential to say something, and adults should listen to us, and we move forward from that. That's, of course, one of the main themes of the book. And then secondly, we have the environmental aspect. This is our home. We're not gonna grow our icicles, or we're not gonna grow an iceberg in just a day, right? So we're preserving our environment for future generations to experience, and of course, preserve the beauty that is this world. So yeah,
you're never too young to start taking action and being an advocate.
Yeah, I think Chris said that beautifully, actually. Another thing I think we really wanted them to take away is that connectivity between climate change and health, and how the actions impact the environment, and vice versa, how the environment responds, and how that can in turn affect their health. With regards to how young people can influence those around them, particularly adults, it was nice to see how our story developed to a place where Auntie Sue, one of the characters who was very stubborn, really started to understand what the Sprouts were saying, and even the entire community. So it shows that no matter how young you are, you can be impactful, and no matter how old you are, you can be impacted. And I really like that about our story. Yeah.
And just to add on, I agree with everything Benita and Chris mentioned, but also when we think of climate change, it's something that young people are faced with, right? So we have no other choice but to make the hard choices. It's a burden that we face, and we see in our characters, the story starts off with them cleaning the environment and being mindful. And I think kids these days, they don't have the luxury of living in an environment whereby we're not talking about climate change. And although that's extremely sad, we see that this new generation, they're very mindful and they're also very motivated, because they know, unfortunately, climate change is happening. And if we don't do something, there wouldn't be a future that's safe for them to grow up in.
Definitely. And I think oftentimes people take for granted like how interconnected the environment is to everything, like our health and well-being, our social background, everything, it's connected, all connected to the environment. And I think oftentimes, people tend to forget that, like, you can be stressed out and just go take a walk like outside in a park and so on. And it does so much to relieve stress. And people tend to, stray away from that and just like think of these environmental people as, tree huggers and, but it's more than just that. So it's really refreshing to see like these new perspectives on the environment and how it relates to all other aspects of life. So kudos to you guys on bringing that to fruition. So Chris, you have a very interesting background and interest and so on with your whole heart through art and all of that. So what really motivated you to illustrate this this book?
Well, as you gave my background earlier, I'm a third-year university student studying environmental studies, and art is a very passionate hobby of mine. And of course, I have Heart Through Art. We're hoping to become an NGO next year. When Nyan approached me with the idea, I was beyond excited because I thought, wow, this is an amazing intersection of my career and my passion. And, those are the two things you need to just keep on going. So when he approached me, I was just so happy to be a part of the entire thing. And really, that's what was the initial motivation. I just love the idea so much that I wanted to do it. And then I met the team. The first meeting, I was like, oh my God, I'm so scared of these people. And then I met the team and I absolutely fell in love with everyone. Everyone's just so wonderful, passionate. It's amazing to meet people in your field of study. And it was a bounce back because like the energy that they give, I receive. And, that was just the added motivation throughout the entire process as well. Like everyone was so nice, and that made me want to contribute the best that I could to the project. So yeah.
Really nice. Yeah, I wasn't like directly involved with this, but I've just been hearing such great things about you, Chris, and the vibrancy that you brought to the project. It was really, really, really refreshing to hear. I'm really happy that you met people that share your interests, and I'm happy to see that you mix your passion and your studies and so on together and in this project. So really happy for you in that regard. So Bonita, can you tell me like what's the next step for the Sprouts? I know you guys have the intention of making it into like a sort of mini series. So what would you say is in the pipeline for the Sprouts?
Well, we wouldn't be giving away too many spoilers at this point. However, yes, I think that is one of the main things that we maintained, even though we changed from having a booklet to a storybook. We do still plan on having a series. That series will definitely have the Sprouts encounter different issues regarding climate change in conjunction with other things. So that could be natural resources, that can be other activities. We don't know as yet, but the Sprouts will be coming back soon. So nice. You can definitely expect seeing more of the Sprouts from us to come in the future. Yeah.
Coming soon.
Sprouts aren't done yet.
Nice. So far, how like what feedback have you guys been receiving like with regards to the book since its launch? Like what was the feedback been?
I'll let Afifa kick off this one because, spoiler alert, the feedback has been really good.
Thanks, Chris. And as Chris said, it's been so overwhelming. Like when we released it on social media, it just blew up, and like I did not really expect it to blow up so fast, and all the comments and feedback and encouragement and congratulations. Like, just thank you so much, everyone, for all the kind comments and thoughts. And we've like, even to today, like if we get a good a nice comment or a nice words from someone, it's like, wow, we did this. It's still so surreal. And I think like persons really appreciated the simple storyline and the humor. And we tried to put like little education nuggets throughout the stories so it could touch on different topics, from as simple as pollination that kids might be familiar with to
Right.
touching on weather patterns and climate change and the bigger idea that we wanted to portray. And I think one of the things we wanted to do as well was make it very local. And
Right.
persons were very appreciative of the inclusion of Creolese language. That made persons happy, that made us happy, because that was something we agreed on as a team from the very start. We wanted it to be a Guyanese story, and there's no other way to make it a Guyanese story. Like, you cannot have a Guyanese story without some Creolese inside. So that was a no-brainer, that had to be there, and persons really enjoyed it and they really appreciate that inclusion. And I think something special for me and Chris as well uh, is that our secondary school, so this is West Amara Secondary, they shared our post with the book on social media, and they congratulated us. And I mean, after months of working together, that's when I realized that, hey, Chris and I went to the same secondary school. So it's like, look,
Right, that
like
was
fate.
like, that was so revolutionary for me. I was like, what? Just to add to that, like, as if you've said, the feedback has been amazing. Like, we've been recognized throughout. We even got contacted by a writer from Stabrook, Joanna Danraj. I feel like that was such a wonderful moment for the entire team. Joanna wanted to do a piece on the book, and we were just so happy that it got more recognition, and you know, it just continues going. Sorry, my brain just froze for a minute. The weather. But yeah, amazing stuff. It was so good.
I'm really
Yeah.
happy to hear.
And if I could just add, I unfortunately cannot remember the name of the person. I'm so sorry. But we got such a kind comment from someone that they really enjoyed the book and they think it should be reading material in schools. And just coming back to our push for environmental education, climate change awareness to be integrated from early on up, like that meant so much to us, hearing that, knowing that we created something valuable that persons enjoy.
Really nice. So you guys spoke about how fun it was to work on the book. I'm sure you guys would have experienced some challenges as well. So Christine, could you expand a bit more on that and give us some insights of some of the challenges that you guys would have faced while creating this book?
Yeah, so coming into the process, there was GYEN and also my organization, the Breadfruit Collective, and there was Chris. So before, we haven't worked with each other, and for some of us, we've never met. So I think that was a challenge in itself, and also working virtually in addition to working during a pandemic. And what I can say is all of us were so involved in this movement in Guyana, whether it's gender work, it's youth work, art, NGO stuff. I think between all of us here, we're probably involved in over 10 different organizations, and we have full-time jobs. So there was a lot of responsibilities between us, in addition to writing the book. And the book was, it was written during a 6 months process. And it's a product that we are so, so proud of because of the time and the effort that we put into it. Because we would meet every Saturday afternoon. And that's a major thing, to devote your Saturday afternoon just to writing, just to editing. And what I can say is the team continued to be communicative and also motivated throughout the process. I know for us young people, we're battling with so much in addition to mental health. So the challenges were many, but I think there were many surprises as well, because we all became friends, I would say, and we all became very close, and our passions really align. So I think you can see the book being a reflection of us because of how well we worked together and how well we took criticism and feedback. I think throughout the process, there was never a time when we felt like we were being attacked by because of our ideas. It was always a very open process whereby we felt comfortable sharing our perspectives. And I really like that. Again, we haven't met, all of us haven't met yet. Some of us are in different continents, but it has been a product of love and a lot of devotion to it. And it's something that we continue to be proud of. And I can't wait to see what other adventures the Sprouts go on and what other social issues they tackle.
Really nice.
And I mean, mind you, right? Oh, Benita, you have your hand up. Sorry, let me not.
You can go ahead, Chris. I'll go after you.
Oh, so mind you, right? We had no idea how this was gonna turn out, right? We weren't really expecting much from this book. It was all just a love project, because I think when someone introduced the entire project as that, it's a labor of love, because we don't know how this is going to turn out. This is the first time that we're doing it, and we don't know what the feedback is going to be. We don't even know if it's going to get recognition. And throughout that entire uncertainty phase, we still pushed and we still pulled it through. So I'm really happy about that. Go ahead, Benita.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to echo everything else that Chris and Christine said, because when it comes to challenges, I mean, we highlight how persons labor through the pandemic to study. And I think this deserves equal credit, because now we conceptualize the book from scratch, essentially, virtually. We never met each other, never had an in-person meeting. From the creation of the characters, the titling of the book, Chris doing his animations, launching, was all done virtually. And I think we really overcome that challenge of a barrier, a physical barrier that is. And when it came to the dedication of the team as a whole, I think was quite phenomenal. There was one meeting that we had, and I was legit cooking. I will not lie. Afifa and I were like, Benita, you cannot be cooking at this time. I'm like, I'm hungry, but I do need to be here. So it was that level of dedication that everyone gave. And I really liked how understanding our entire project team was. And for me, that meant a whole lot. And I keep coming back to Chris. There was something special about Chris being in our meetings, you know. We always got the funniest and the most creative ideas when Chris showed up. So that was really great.
He has such a good vibe.
Right? Like, there was this one aspect that we wanted to add in when it came to, and I think that's one of the surprises of the book, when it came to the helicopter scene. We were like, man, but there's no helipad in Guyana that we can land this helicopter. We're like, it's a kid's book, they can have a helipad. So things like that, I think, really made the work feel lighter, and having everyone be receptive of criticism, going through the lines, going through every chapter of the story, having everyone's take being taken into consideration. And I think that all added real value to our story. So yeah, it was a great project.
Yeah. And they say nothing worth doing comes easily. So I'm really happy that you guys were able to surmount all of these formidable challenges you would have been met with and bring your passion project to life. So kudos to you guys and congrats on the book. I know the Sprouts and the Mystery of the Flood is the focus of today's launch here, but what can we expect from GYEN, the Breadfruit Collective, and Chris, you and Hartshort, what can we expect from you guys in the future?
Okay, so for GYEN, definitely you'll expect a lot more of public engagement. We're definitely one of the things closest to our particular group is youth development and environmental awareness and education. So we try to do that to the best of our ability, given the current circumstances. So while most of our engagement is now virtual, we still will be pushing on those projects. We're currently having a series being run in alignment with the COP, keeping up to date with commenting on the outcomes of the conference of the parties and so on. So I definitely would urge everyone to tune into those, engage with our content. We do expect to partner with more of our stakeholders, our non-governmental and governmental agencies in the future for projects, probably one for the next segment of our series of the book. We never know, but there's definitely much more to come from GYEN.
Nice. Christine?
Yes. So the Breadfruit Collective, we're very committed to engaging with women and girls and just, persons in general, just get their take on the environment, marginalized groups. We know how important their voices are. And I think there's so much happening in the world, and it's important for us to continue to build partnerships and continue to connect with people who are already doing the work. And one of the things that we have coming up actually for November 19 is actually International Men's Day. So we're going to be having a panel with young men speaking specifically about mental health. So definitely look forward to that. We'll have a few other period drives, connecting with organizations here and supplying those materials. And there's going to be a lot more webinars and conversations around climate change, gender justice, and issues that continue to affect women and girls.
Very nice. Looking forward to those events. Chris, what can we expect from you?
Well, my major passion right now is Heart Through Art. It's, as you mentioned, we're hoping to become an NGO, and it's basically focused on bolstering the art sector in Guyana, whether that be, well, it has to be a good thing. My co-partner actually is in this meeting right now, Kezia Bola. We are working really hard to project a lot of things that could, build up the arts community in Guyana. So that's a love effort that we're trying to keep on top of. So you're gonna definitely expect stuff from us next year. I would recommend that you follow our Instagram at Heart Through Art, Guyana, GY. We haven't posted anything yet, but we're waiting for followers.
And can you post a link to the profile in the chat so that?
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Shameless plug.
Looking forward to big things from you. I really, and it's really nice to see you following your passion so much. So what advice, and this is open to all the panelists, what advice can you share with young people who may be interested in writing, storytelling, art, activism, the environment, gender issues? Like, what advice would you guys give to young people who are interested in those areas?
Okay, if I should start, I think firstly, I would say be aware of the issues or the topics you're advocating on. Ensure that you're familiar with the topic and can explain it to others, because it's really, when you're advocating for something, the communication and breaking it down for persons to understand, it's really, really important so that you can encourage persons to get involved. They could want to be on board. They could understand how they can have an impact as well. And I'd say also get a group or get a team. If it's a little intimidating to do it on your own, then reach out, get partners. I know sometimes a lot of us, we're not very open to group work because we have bad nightmares from high school, university of being the only one in the group that does the work. But really, with this team, we've had on the storybook, that's definitely changed my impression of teamwork. We worked so well together that I'm honestly here for it. Teamwork to everything. And I know it can sound a little cheesy, but different people together make a rainbow, and that's pretty beautiful. So let's go with the teamwork. And then I'd say just start. For me, I know a lot of things I might have it going round and round in my head, trying to make it perfect, trying to figure it all out. But when we started writing, we were figuring things out as we go, and it just evolved so much along the way that it was really just starting that helped us to have this final product. So those are my 3 things that I need to remember for myself as well.
Relating to what Afifa said, finding people, surrounding yourself with people who share your interest and your passion definitely goes a long way. Also, I would say stay strong to your opinion. It doesn't matter if you stay strong to your opinion, but also be open to criticism, because I feel like that's such a healthy way to grow and develop your opinion so that it's stronger, whatever the case may be. So yeah.
Well said, Chris. Well said.
Yeah, I think I just like to add that in addition to what Afifa and Chris said, one advice I think I would give would be to join a group that has an agenda, a mission, a goal that you align with personally. And I think this is particularly important because it really influences how you work with the group and the effort you put into the projects and the initiatives of that particular group. And I think that's so because when I started university, there was a heavy push for us to all by default join our school faculty group. Now, while that was by default, I was looking around all the time for an NGO to join, to volunteer with, because I wanted to be a part of something that means something to me. And I think I just happened upon then group. I will not be giving shameless plugs here. However, I am so happy that I happened upon the group because it led me to a wide variety of amazing individuals that I'm happy to be working with today. And I think knowing what you want out of your own life, knowing the things that you're passionate about, and having persons that share that passion, share that drive, share that sense of, collective work ethic and all of that good stuff really lends to the entire experience, and it really shows up in the work that you produce. So I think really finding something that connects to you and not just doing it because, oh, it's popular, or oh, it's because everyone's doing this, would really make the difference. So that would be one thing I would advise persons to do. Yeah.
Beautifully said, Benita. Couldn't agree more.
Yes, I couldn't agree more with everything that was said. And this is the exact reason why I'm so happy, because the people in this group, they're so intuitive and smart, and they have so many great ideas. And one of the things we have in our book, we have a Dr. Seuss quote that says, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. And that's a quote that I live by, because as someone that's extremely shy, and for a long time I didn't think like opinions that I have matter. I think no one is you, and that's your superpower. The creativity that you have, the ideas that you have, the thoughts that you have, they're very valid. And I think that's what the world needs. Actually, we need people who are thinking differently, who are committed to this work, because there's so much happening, and there's so much that we as individual can influence. Each of us have a circle. And so people are always looking at you. They're always looking at the way you work and the way you do things and the way you communicate. And so we can have a lot of influence once we are committed to our mission. And that's exactly what I find with the Breadfruit. The Breadfruit started as a place whereby I was actually very sad. Mentally, I was really down, and I wanted a way to talk about the issues that affect women. And I wanted to do so in a way that I would find people. And surprisingly, going into it, I didn't know what to expect. But coming out of it, what I can say is there are people out there that align with your passion, and they're waiting for, they're waiting for motivation as well. They're waiting for other people to like help them. So I think for each of us, we can think of ourselves as being a candle. There are other people that are watching us and being motivated by us. And I would say to continue to communicate the things that you're passionate about, and continue to be mindful and empathetic to people, because we're all like dealing with a lot of different issues. But once we're committed to our passion, I find that there's a lot of good things that could come out of it.
Such good advice from each and every one of you. Oh, Benita, you can go ahead.
We're just clapping.
I was clapping. I wasn't raising my hand.
That was brilliant. That was brilliant right there.
Yeah, I think everyone can take away something valuable from what each and every one of you would have just spoken about, and it's really, really, really good and relatable advice coming out from each and every one of you, and a good note to end today's meeting on. And just before we bring the launch to a close, we'll just have Afifa read the last paragraph of the book, so we can get a bit of hard copy, a bit of insight into the whole the whole genesis of the book. So Afifa, you can just go ahead and
Yes, sure. So it's just the last few lines of the book that I think really aligns with the topic that we're discussing today. So a local reporter heard about the amazing work the Sprouts were involved in and interviewed and asked to interview them. She hoped that the Sprouts would inspire people, both young and old, in Guyana to take actions for the environment. Why do you care so much about the environment? She asked. We care about the environment because it is our home. It is our responsibility to take care of it, replied Asha. We are only children, but we can do our part, said Shamar. Every little action counts, added Lily. If we take care of the environment, it takes care of us, noted Tim. The article was featured on the front page of the daily newspaper. On the cover, the Sprouts, Uncle Tombo, Auntie Sue, Sunshine, and the other villagers stood proudly. The article headline, "We should all be like the Sprouts."
I continuously nominate FIFA to do the audiobook, right? Do we all do? Yeah, we same page.
Same, but Chris, you would definitely have to do the Creole.
Yes, we need you as well.
And on that note, I would just like to say congratulations to each one of you for all the work, all the effort that you would have put into creating this book, bringing your passion to life, bringing this project to fruition. Kudos to you guys. You guys should be immensely proud of yourselves. And I can't wait to see what is to come in the future. So congratulations. Before we bring the meeting to a close, I would just like to ask if anyone from the audience has any questions or any comments for the panelists. You can just raise your hand and go right ahead. Hanan, you can go.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. I think I know most of your faces, but just in case, my name is Hanan Lachman Singh. First, apologies for joining a bit late, but I just wanted to say a huge congratulations to this team and just add it to the long list of compliments that you guys have gotten. And honestly, as a young Guyanese, that's passionate about the environment, it can feel like, like we're us against the world trying to.
I think, Hanan, are you there? Okay, I think we lost Hanan, but Chatri, you can go ahead.
That's embarrassing.
Oh, she's back.
Can you guys hear me?
I think we're hearing you now, Hanan. I think we're hearing you. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Ain't nothing like
yeah,
embarrassing, I say. But I was just I'm sorry. I just wanted to tell you guys that I was just so thrilled to see, this environmental awareness product that was aimed at youth. And it was so appealing and digestible to both children and adults.
Mm-hmm. Chatri.
Oh my God, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, guys. I just have a question and probably some input. Where can I upload a copy of this book?
The book is available for free download. On each of our bios, we have the link to the site. And yes, once you click on it, you'll be able to access the book free. And please feel free to share it with as many people as you can, especially for young people in your life. Please feel free to share it. And there's also a part on the website for you to leave comments on the book.
I see Afifa posted a link in the chat. So Chatri, if you're interested, you can just go and check it out from there.
Okay, sure. I'll check it out. And the other thing I wanted to say, I think you guys are doing a very good job. I mean, people often look at the more tangible and the harder outcomes from conservation, and they don't necessarily focus on the softer added value. Like, for example, I think this book is the right step, a good step in the right direction in terms of behavioral change. Not a lot of people focus on behavioral change. They're too caught up how to put it, trying to achieve more tangible outcomes, but they don't realize that, you know what, in 30 years from now, the kids of today are going to be the presidents and the CEOs of large corporations. Exactly. Like, I'm pretty sure we see it clearly in our lives. I mean, the nostalgia one feels when they pour a cold glass of Coca-Cola or smell the smell of KFC. It's something that's very powerful, you know. I think you guys are doing a good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you all are so enthusiastic. I really like that.
Thank you so much.
Kudos to you guys. Is there anyone else who would like to ask a question or a comment, offer a comment up to any of our panelists from the audience? If not, then we'll bring the meeting to a close. I would just like to say once again, thank you all so much for joining us for the launch of this book, The Sprouts and the Mystery of the Floods. You can download it for free, as Afifa and Christine would have said, from each of their bios, the Breadfruit Collective, GYEN. There's a link there in their bios. You can just click it and download it for free. We're working on getting hard copies done, and whenever they're made available, you would definitely be updated on each of our each of the pages' social media platforms. So on that note, thanks again, guys. Congrats. Stay safe, wear your mask, sanitize your hands, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you all so much for joining. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much for today.